Allegiance. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Clerk will call the roll. There being 135 members present, the House is still in session. Orders, petition, memorials, and other papers. Quorum call before third reading calendar.
Madam Speaker.
She's right there. Clerk will take the call. There being 135 members present, the House is still in order. Calendar. Where am I? All right. Calendar, third reading, Senate Bill number 1, Senate Joint Resolution 2. Clerk, read the bill.
Senate Joint Resolution 2, Legislative Districting Plan of 2022.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing gentlelady from Cal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have an amendment on the desk. That's an applaud line there. It's here, hot off the press. Amendment number 553821/1.
Amendment number 1.
Thank you. So consider the reading of the amendment. First, I want to apologize
Ordered.
for the mix-up in these amendments. If you ever want to go to sleep tonight quickly, you can take this 155-page amendment and start reading it about census tracts, and you will immediately realize how challenging this is. This particular amendment is to create all single-member districts, starting with the Senate districts that the Citizens Commission put together. So it aligns with the Citizens Commission map that they originally put out that has to do with single-member districts. Is this map perfect? No. You're voting on the concept of single-member districts. I'm not going to repeat all the things that I said earlier or that have been said on this floor. I want to make a couple of comments about, there was a mention earlier of the 2002 and all the different lawsuits we've had over the years. I just want to correct the record a little bit on that. The way that I got into office in 2002 was because it was challenged in court under Governor Glendening. A special master basically said there were too many crossings, and it held the maps up for I don't know, months. We didn't know what our districts were until, I think, May of that year. Now, back then, the primary elections were in September, so it wasn't as big of a deal, but it delayed everyone knowing where they were going to be running. It was a big problem. And it was challenged on too many crossings. It was not challenged because of one person, one vote. And we have a lot of case law, as I said. Since then, every other state in the nation, except for New Hampshire, who does it very differently, every other state has moved to one person, one vote, whether it's two-member districts, all two-member districts, or all one-member districts. So that 2002 case that was talked about, it delayed the election filing, and the issues we're talking about today are not what was challenged during that ruling. So a judge rules on what has been challenged. So I want to set the record straight on that. So for all the reasons that we spoke about today, and I think they're voluminous, I believe the time is now to get history right. So for all the reasons that I've stated earlier, I urge you to join the right side of history and support the doctrine of one person, one vote, and all single-member district legislative districts in Maryland. And keep in mind, even though you might have a nice district, I applaud the LRAC for trying to make incumbents happy with the map. I can tell you for me, in this three-member district, you know, it would be a cakewalk to run again in the same district with the same team, with, you know, the money and the power behind us. That's not what democracy's all about. I came in a single-member district. I had head-to-head competition. It wasn't comfortable, but it's the way democracy works the best. So in my own interest, probably your map, the LRAC map probably is better for me personally, but that's not best for the people that I represent. It's not best for democracy, and it's not best for consistency of everybody having the same vote, one vote. So I urge you to support the concept of this amendment, and Madam Speaker, I move the amendment. Thank you.
Recognize Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd ask the body to resist the amendment. And I appreciate the debate. I think we've had very good debate on this floor today. I think this has been a very good debate. I think we've done the people of Maryland proud in this debate. On this amendment in particular, I'll say, first of all, that the concept of changing the longstanding practice in Maryland of having multi-member districts, the three-member district as the constitutional default, it's a valid debate to have, but I don't think this is the venue for it, because it's a constitutional principle. Right? And the very first words of Article 1 of the Declaration of Rights of the Maryland Constitution say that, and I'll read it to make sure I don't make a mistake. They say that all government of right originates from the people. If we're going to make a change of this magnitude, a change that would alter the trajectory of the state of Maryland, that should be a debate that happens in the context of a constitutional amendment that's introduced in this legislature for public hearing and debate by members, and then is voted on, you know, if the legislature approves, by the people, right, through our normal process. That said, I will simply point out that the debate earlier on the floor, I think, made the case for why three-member districts have significant value. I think you just have to look around this floor and see the diversity of races, ethnicities, religions, ideologies, backgrounds that are present on this floor that have been created by our current system. Right? And I think we should be very careful to reject this system and to move to something new, which as I say that, I'm now realizing is fundamentally a conservative argument, and I feel a little awkward. Finally, I'll just point out that this concept of switching to universal single-member districts is a shift so significant that even the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission, the commission appointed by the governor, even they rejected the concept of switching to universal single-member districts. And the map that they proposed includes multi-member districts. And as I understand it, they rejected it for some of the same reasons you've heard on the floor today. So it asks the body to resist this amendment.
Gentleman from Worcester.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to rise in support of this much anticipated amendment that we finally have on the floor. I represent District 38C, which is of course, a single-member district, and I have two counterparts that also represent single-member districts. And I think the importance for everybody to understand is the uniqueness of each of these districts. So 38A is very rural, much farmland, and also has a significant number of minority population. 38B is the extreme opposite. It's probably the most densely populated area on the Eastern Shore. It includes part of Salisbury. It represents many hardworking families. And then I represent District 38C, which is comprised of many businesses, represents Ocean City. Tourism is a big consideration, has some agriculture as well. Mostly retired population, so very different needs. So here we are with three very unique districts, 38A, 38B, and 38C. And if anybody pays any attention to the voting habits, my counterpart, we sometimes refer to as cornbread, votes very differently from myself and my counterpart in 38A. So From District 38, I feel it's easy to see that the smaller the district and both the population, the number of people that we represent, and as far as geography, the more closely we can align with our constituency. So I say that without a doubt, the citizens of Maryland would be much better served if we had single-member districts. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Roll call, Madam Speaker.
No vote.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Madam Speaker?
Explain my vote.
Gentleman from Washington County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would just encourage people to vote yes on this amendment. Single-member districts, I had one when I was first elected for 4 years. I was in a single-member district, and then I was in a two-member district. And as one of the colleagues mentioned earlier today, on the single-member, I was able to door knock pretty much the whole district. But on two members, it's twice as hard, very, very difficult, and we couldn't do it. With single members, we really do give people more opportunity to be able to reach out to their neighbors and talk and be more accountable to a smaller group of people. You know, even think about the scholarships that we have control over. Instead of some people having 3 delegates to go to, or 2 or 1, with this bill, we would just have one single-member district, and you would just go to one person. I think it's just more fair all around, so I'd encourage a green vote. Thank you.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand here today and I just want to explain my vote. I have to vote against this because it doesn't represent my district in this amendment. And I do believe in a single vote, for a single member and a single vote. Just unfortunately, because of the map and including in this amendment, I cannot support it. But I do believe in the concept. Thank you.
Okay. Has everyone recorded their vote? Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Gentleman from Caroline County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to change my vote on Amendment 213827 from green to red.
Are there any other amendments to the bill or to its title? Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just have a brief question for the floor leader, please.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Thanks, I appreciate it. So I took part in the both the discussions of the Citizens Commission and the discussions of the LRAC. I drove to Owings Mills, I believe it was the library we were at. And one of the huge parts of the process that was different is the Citizens Commission had a working map that they were adjusting as they walked through the process, and the LRAC did not have a map at the Owings Mills meeting. And I followed the videos of the other meetings. I actually didn't see a map that could be discussed or analyzed by attendees or citizens at any of the LRAC meetings. And I wanted to ask, why did you decide not to walk through the process with a product that you could adjust and get input on as the LRAC went through the process of deciding what the map should be?
Sure. I mean, I think the reasoning is you shouldn't put pen to paper until the citizens have had a chance to have a preliminary say. So we had a series of hearings prior to the release of the map. One of them, as you say, was at that gorgeous, you all have some beautiful libraries in Baltimore County, that gorgeous library in Owings Mills. And then, once we had released the map, we had further public hearings and we got further testimony. In fact, one of the pieces of testimony we got was from a resident of Owings Mills who argued for the creation of a single-member district, which was one of the changes that ended up happening to the map.
Right, and I appreciate that. And I just wanted to make the point with what even we're seeing here today. So I understand that many members of the body here are not going to vote for the Citizens Commission map. But if you watch through that process, what the Citizens Commission would do is they would, in the beginning of their meeting, they would open with public input, and they would take public input for as long as they needed to hear from every single person who participated. At that point, they would close the meeting, and the members of the Citizens Commission would discuss all of the items that were presented to them by people around the state. And this happened for months and months and months. And as you can know, when you're designing a map for the state, it is a zero-sum game. If you change something here, you have to account for that elsewhere to stay within the constitutional limitations of generally keeping the districts equal. So as the Citizens Commission worked through this process, and they would change something, and then someone would say elsewhere, well, you know what, the change that you've had to make, we have that problem here. And despite the arguments made here today, that wasn't a partisan thing at all. In fact, I sat through the Citizens Commission as they handled this issue for months, and it was a really participatory process. I mean, it was great. And they had all kind of different groups, chiming in, different citizens groups down to the community level. And the case was made here today that you can't do that without citizens' input. Well, if you're taking citizens' input from people across the state in a continuously evolving map, if it's a zero-sum game that you have to tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak and tweak, how do you come up with a final work product? And you blast it right through the legislature, and I think we can all sense things are coming off the rails a little bit here. I mean, we can't even get an amendment on the floor without trauma happening. I had attempted to draft my own map. I wanted to make my own map to make the case for single-member districts, and I was presented with a deadline that's outside the normal legislative deadlines for bills, and they said, well, you just got to have it to me this day or we're not going to get it to you at all. And I mean, here we are. We're going to have several floor sessions just so we can get a dang map here. So I know that this is a partisan issue. I think we all understand that. But for any person in this state who followed the processes of the Citizens Commission and the LRAC, no argument can be made that this map is the work product of the citizens of Maryland. Because if you paid attention to the maps of the Citizens Commission, time and time again they advocated for single-member districts. And time again the Citizens Commission amended the map. And time again they made it more and more perfect, and it was a great process. And I think what we're seeing here today is just the opposite. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Calvert.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As I rise here today on this bill, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime vote that we'll be taking here, at least for me. I mean, there's other folks I'm sure will be here in 10 years still. I'm sure the delegate next to me will be here 10 years from now. In y'all's worst dreams. But I got to tell you, my wife tells me all the time that I'm more about me than I am about me and her, which is really hard for me to take. But she's got a little bit of sense, I think. But why I'm going to explain to you why I'm not going to vote for this bill, and why I think maybe my wife's wrong. This bill here today takes my district and takes it from raw red meat to double raw red meat. It is the greatest thing for District 29C that you could possibly do. But I have to tell you, I'm sent here to represent the people of Calvert and St. Mary's County. And I want to represent the people of Calvert County the best way I can. And the people of Calvert County are being, and no disrespect to anyone in this room, are being not respected. We do not have a senator that we elect or vote for in Calvert County that we affect the vote on. We have one delegate that we can affect the vote on, and that's the delegate sitting next to me. That's not right. Calvert County has a proud history of putting many, many people through this legislature that was in leadership and did a lot of great things for the state of Maryland. And up until the census in 1990, Calvert County had its own senator, and it shared that senator with the lower part of Anne Arundel County. And it had 3 delegates. 2 of the delegates were in Calvert, and the other one, the Honorable Secretary of Veterans Affairs, which you all know, had the upper part and the 4 districts in Anne Arundel County. We operated well. We ran a good county. We were able to make our school system one of the top school systems in the state with the help of the people from the legislature and our elected officials. We very much want, and the people of Calvert County very much want, a senator that we can affect the vote on. It's the right thing to happen for Calvert County. We lost that in the 90 census when I don't know if I have to, when our senator moved from Prince George's County into northern Calvert County, we lost that. And we got chopped up like a Thanksgiving turkey. Now we're very giving people. We don't mind sharing. But we want a little more left of the turkey when it's all said and done. So I just cannot and will not vote for this bill. We had letters sent from our local government, Board of County Commissioners representing the citizens of Calvert, asking to be made whole, and didn't happen. No criticisms to anybody. I know that you start at a place and you start working up, but Calvert County deserves its own senator that they can affect the vote on. And it's one of the saddest days of my whole time being up here that we're not going to be able to do that. But I thank you very much for the time, and I'll be voting no on this bill. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Calvert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So we have before us, ladies and gentlemen, SJ2, which is a partisan bill drawn by Democrats. That's really all it is. It's a gerrymandered bill that seeks to rig the game and does rig the game, and it's cheating. Let's just say it what it is. It's cheating. So I just want to get this straight so we have it on the record. The Democrats don't want single-member districts. They don't really want multi-member districts. They want all of the above so that they can gerrymander depending on whether they use single-member districts or multi-member districts in the state. So they have a potpourri of both. And they oppose single-member districts, which is a principled and constitutional right of the citizens of Maryland to have single-member districts because of the fact that it's one person, one vote. Democrats don't support voter ID. Never have. Not in this state. They support ballot harvesting, mass mailing of ballots, drop boxes. Why does that matter? It matters because all of those things combined represent cheating and a lack of faith by the citizens that their vote matters. This is extremely important because it's not just that one thing ever, is it? It's always the combination of all those things. Again, no single-member districts, no voter ID, ballot harvesting, mass mailing of ballots, drop boxes, and not even voting out the citizens' commission maps so that there could be an honest vote of that. Now, we did have it in form of an amendment, but not even given that an opportunity, not even having a separate hearing for the House, as if we are a unicameral system like Nebraska. Since when does that happen? How on earth do the citizens even know that they're supposed to testify for a bill in a hearing when there isn't even one in the House? These things matter. These things matter, and combined, they all equal the same thing: cheating. Gerrymandering is cheating. And I have no idea how anyone can go home in our republic with how incredibly divided it is and say to their citizens, cheating is okay. Especially at this time in American history. So wrong what you're doing, and you know it. And for all those reasons, I'm voting against this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And for the final time, I hope in my life that I ever get to speak about redistricting. I hope so. I would simply say this. I know that I think everyone understands where this is all going to end up. Lawsuits will be filed, and the Court of Appeals of Maryland, most likely, perhaps other courts, but most likely, the 7 men and women of the Court of Appeals of Maryland will have the opportunity to substitute their judgment for the brilliant legal minds, not mine, who have opined here today. They are far, far better jurists than what most members, all members probably of our legislature are. They'll have that opportunity. There will be, in Maryland, you can file a lawsuit based upon these districts. Anyone can. If you are a registered voter of the state of Maryland, you have automatic standing to file a lawsuit contesting the legislative or congressional redistricting maps directly to the Court of Appeals, and that's obviously going to happen. Unlike my good friend and my colleague from Charles County, I've litigated for more than half of my life. That's scary. I must be getting old. I've litigated for many, many years, decades. And the one thing I've learned is I do not predict what the outcome will be. There are some cases that are very obvious, that are slam dunks, that you wouldn't have to go to law school to read or figure out. This isn't one of them. I cannot predict, I don't think anyone can predict, what the judgment of the majority of the members of that court will be in the coming weeks and months. I am from Cumberland, Maryland, as I'm sure most of you know. And when I stand here, it's weird. I spent my first 7 years way back there in the back with my good friend from Garrett County, and you got to kind of look around. You sit here in the front, I'm confronted by that gentleman standing above some of our security and our troopers, the former speaker, Casper Taylor, who grew up and lived about 5 minutes, 10 minutes from me, who I knew well, knew his children well. His children went to the same high school, a little bit older than what I am. And I can tell you that the reason why he wasn't here anymore after 2002 was because the Court of Appeals struck down the legislative redistricting map that, quite frankly, he as Speaker had probably had a significant hand in drawing. And they struck it down for a variety of reasons, where they felt that this legislature had overreached and had violated a variety of constitutional rules. And as a result, his district changed precipitously. And when his district changed precipitously, he was, I believe, perhaps the first Speaker of the House actually defeated in an election since before World War II. And that happened because of overreaching in redistricting and the court's impact. We've talked a lot today about single-member, two-member, three-member districts. All I can tell you is this: I really appreciated everyone's conceptions, and they are different. My friend from the Pimlico region has a conception of why a three-member district works and why it provides him with an opportunity to have a broader base of constituents and constituent service, and sort of expands his knowledge of his home city and different people who live there. My friend, the chair of the Environment and Transportation Committee, spoke movingly about how having a three-member district was important to him as a young man from a diverse background who probably didn't think he had a chance, and he could finish third in a three-member district, and he could get here, and he could develop his career, which has been a storied career. I appreciate that. Many of us wouldn't fathom how to run in a three-member district. If you lived where I lived, a three-member district would take you from nearly Morgantown, West Virginia, which is near the Maryland line, all the way to the city of Hagerstown. I don't know if you've ever driven out there on Route 68 while going west or coming back east. It's a long, long, long way. It would be almost infeasible to have people run like that. But the principle that I try to make, and I hope that you reflect on, At a certain point in time, we have to do things the same way in order for one person, one vote to have any meaning. Whether that is single members or whether that is all three members, you have to have the same way. You can't pick and choose and say, well, I get to finish third in my district of 120-some thousand people, but that person over there, they've got to finish first in their district of 43,000 people, and it's 10 minutes away or 15 minutes away. And then 15 minutes further down the road, we separated that up. We carved out a district for this person in a single member, but then the rest of you, all you got to do is finish in the top two. 48 other states of the Union do not do that. Now, I may be in the minority in thinking this, but I was kind of taught by my grandparents and others that if you're the only guy doing something, maybe you're in the wrong. If we're the only state left in the country that continues to use this, I think the word of my colleague was hodgepodge. If we're the only state really in the country, New Hampshire has a little bit of a different scenario that my friend from Baltimore County better explained than I. If we're the only other state doing this hodgepodge, maybe we're not right. Do we think that the other 300 and some million people and the other thousands upon thousands of political leaders from sea to shining sea, they do it one way, they think that's the best way to represent their citizens, that's fairness, that's one person, one vote? Not here. We're Maryland. We do it our own way. I appreciate Maryland pride, I do, but I also appreciate logic, and that's not really logical. Article 3, Section 4 of the Maryland Constitution says that each legislative district shall consist of adjoining territory, be compact in form, and of substantially equal population. Due regard shall be given to natural boundaries and to the boundaries of political subdivisions. This map fails that test in several regards. And I honestly think, and I'll be blunt, I did not know this. I served on the LRAC. I don't recall ever hearing this until my colleague, my friend from Calvert County, discussed that today. A river is a natural boundary. If in order to join two portions of the same district together, you have to get in a car and drive into another county and then come back around, or you have to get in a car and drive into another legislative district and come back around, because you can't physically cross the river unless I guess you're a good swimmer, that is not respecting natural boundaries. That's making a mockery of that concept. Article 7 of the Maryland Declaration of Rights. We have both a Declaration of Rights and a Constitution. I'm sure many of you figured that out because we're such an old state. Our Declaration of Rights almost predates the United States Constitution, many of the principles within it. We were an older state. We were a bedrock of this great country. Article 7, Declaration of Rights, speaks of the right of the people to have free elections. To the best of my knowledge, that has never been interpreted by the Maryland Court of Appeals or by any court of competent jurisdiction in the context that we're discussing it today. But it has been interpreted, not the exact language, but language that speaks to free elections, free and open elections, free and fair elections. Because, you know, those old legislators back here in the 1700s and 1800s, they tended to look to other states and use some of the same language. They thought, you know, maybe we should all be a little bit on the same page. North Carolina, one of the original 13 colonies and states, Pennsylvania, similarly, they have provisions in their constitution that discuss free elections. And in those states, under state law, relying on that similar language, not my party, but the Democratic Party that is in the minority of the legislature in North Carolina and Pennsylvania, have filed lawsuits in recent years to suggest that if one party unduly partisanly gerrymanders a map, if one party takes into undue consideration political concerns, protect ourselves, not come up with a fair and balanced map of principle, then that is struck down under the Free Elections Clause. That's happened in North Carolina and in Pennsylvania. And the Republican Party, who gerrymandered the legislative maps, probably, most likely, I wasn't there, but I think that's a fair inference, their maps have been reversed. And the minority party in those states, the Democratic Party, has taken advantage of those concepts. It is anomalous for us to suggest that what is bad for others is good for us. That's not the way this is supposed to work. I will oppose the maps not because I think that they are a product of some evil intent. They are a product of some very good people. I was very, very happy to serve on the LRAC. As I've said, the staff of the LRAC was tremendously professional, tremendously responsive, and I enjoyed the opportunity to have conversations of good faith with my colleagues, both in the House and the Senate. But I will vote against the maps because I do not believe that they are our best efforts. I do not believe that they represent the reality of what we should do if we put aside politics and we start thinking about principle. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senate Joint Resolution 2 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? Not, the clerk will take the call. There being 95 votes in the affirmative, Senate Joint Resolution 2 is declared passed. That ends the work at the desk. Are there any committee announcements? Judiciary.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. The House Judiciary Committee will resume bill hearings at 4:15 this afternoon.
Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Environment and Transportation Committee will continue public hearings at, well, as soon as we get back.
Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will continue bill hearings at 4:15, followed by a very quick voting session.
Health and Government Operations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That committee will begin our public hearing at 4 p.m. as planned.
Economic Matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, enjoy your weekend. Subcommittee chairs, please pay attention to your emails. Have a wonderful weekend.
Any of the caucuses have Republican caucus chair or Democratic caucus chair? Okay. Quorum call before an adjournment.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Clerk will take the call. There being 136 members present, the House is still in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before we move to adjourn, I just want to share with you some very good news, members. Earlier this afternoon, firefighter John McMaster, who was the firefighter injured, who survived the tragedy earlier this week, was released from Baltimore shock trauma.
Yeah.
I hope you will continue to keep him and his family, as well as the families of Lieutenant Paul Boutram, Lieutenant Kelsey Sadler, who received a posthumous promotion today, and firefighter Kenny Lacayo in your prayers. Madam Speaker, I move that the House stand adjourned until Monday, January 31st at 3:30 p.m. for a pro forma session.